Hi there. I know you've been taking care of your health. You eat plenty of fruit, you go for the natural stuff, you avoid added sugars. But have you ever found yourself wondering, why do my joints still ache? Why do my legs feel weak? Why do I have to grip the handrail tighter than before when climbing stairs? And why do my ankles swell for no clear reason? I've seen so many patients ask the same thing. There's a woman named Margaret, 67 years old. Every morning she made herself a smoothie, pineapple, banana, a splash of orange juice. Then one day she called me and said, "Doctor, I don't know what's happening. Lately when I stand up, my legs shake. My knees feel like they just don't want to listen anymore." You see, so many of us believe fruit is always good, and in many ways it is. But once we pass 60, the story gets a little more complicated because our bodies change. What once gave us strength and energy when we were young might now trigger inflammation, weaken circulation, or quietly damage our muscles and joints. Some fruits, even the most natural, organic, healthy kinds, contain acids, sugars, and compounds that our liver and kidneys don't process as easily anymore. These substances can slowly wear down the tiny blood vessels in your legs, limit oxygen flow to muscles, and make your joints swell little by little without you even noticing. I'm not saying fruit is bad, absolutely not. But what you do need is the right kind of knowledge. The body at 65 is not the same as the body at 35. And the food that serves us best, it changes with time too. We have to stop choosing foods just because they sound healthy and start choosing them because they truly fit this stage of life we're in. Have you ever felt like Margaret? If so, maybe don't blame it all on getting old. Sometimes the problem lies in the very things we thought were keeping us healthy. Let me ask, have your knees ever felt unusually heavy going down the stairs? Or have you woken up with legs so stiff it takes a few minutes to warm them up? I had a patient named John, 63. He told me I thought this was just normal aging. I eat well, I exercise, but his legs were getting weaker. The aches were sticking around. And when I looked at his diet, something jumped out. He ate mangoes. Every day, sometimes one large mango, sometimes two. Now mangoes, they're sweet, fragrant, delicious. It's easy to believe they're 100% healthy. But here's the truth, mangoes are loaded with natural sugar. So much that just one serving can cause a major blood sugar spike, especially in older adults. And when blood sugar spikes quickly, your body produces inflammatory chemicals to respond. That inflammation is what quietly wears down your muscles, irritates your joints, especially in your legs, which carry your entire body weight every day. Ever eaten a bowl of ripe mango and felt a sharp twinge in your knees a few hours later? That's not random. That's your body talking to you. I'm not saying mangoes are evil, but for anyone over 50, especially if you're dealing with joint pain, leg fatigue, or early signs of blood sugar imbalance, eating mango every day might be like adding fuel to a small fire you didn't even know was burning. I want you to picture this. Every time you eat a sugar-heavy fruit like mango, your body receives a little inflammatory signal. And your legs, already tired from decades of service, have to carry that weight again. So the next time you're choosing fruit, ask yourself, is this food nourishing me or slowly wearing me down? This isn't about strict dieting. It's about learning to love yourself a little more wisely, starting with your legs, the same legs that have carried you through every chapter of your life. You deserve to walk lightly, to move without pain. And sometimes the simplest gift you can give yourself is cutting back on just one mango. That kind of inflammation doesn't always show up right away. It often starts quietly. Maybe your legs feel oddly tired, your ankles get a little puffy, or you feel sluggish and slow to stand up after a meal. That's your blood slowing down, your small blood vessels in the legs getting irritated. And over time, that leads to muscle weakness, making every step feel just a little heavier. Now, I know you're not eating watermelon to make yourself weaker. You're eating it because you believe it's the better choice. But after 60, our bodies no longer handle sugar the way they used to. That sweet, cool bite. It may be exactly what's making you tired and you don't even realize it. Have you ever eaten a slice of watermelon and then felt drowsy, drained, like you just walked 3 miles without stopping? If so, don't rush to blame your age. The culprit might be that innocent fruit you thought was doing you good. Now I want you to picture this. It's a warm summer afternoon. You're sitting on the porch and there's a bowl of fresh grapes in front of you. You pop them into your mouth one by one, small, juicy, perfectly sweet, and you think, this must be healthy. It's fruit after all. I get that. I used to think the same. Until I met Frank, 70 years old, active, healthy, watches his diet. But over the last few months, he'd been waking up with sharp pain in his big toe and ankle. Sometimes the burning got so intense at night, he had to sit up just to stretch and breathe through it. We ran tests, talked about his habits. And one thing stood out: every night Frank ate a bowl of grapes while watching TV. Better than cookies or ice cream, he said. But here's what many people don't know: grapes, even though they're small and natural, are packed with fructose. That's a type of sugar that in older adults often gets converted by the liver into uric acid. And when your body builds up too much uric acid, it forms tiny needle-like crystals that settle into your joints, especially your knees, ankles, and toes. The result: gout. Sometimes dull, sometimes stabbing. Ever had a morning where slipping into your shoes was a struggle because your toe felt bruised or swollen? If so, you're not alone. And you might be doing the same thing Frank did, eating healthy, but still hurting. I'm not saying you need to give up grapes forever, but I do want you to start seeing fruit, not just with your heart, but with your understanding. Just because something is natural doesn't mean it's harmless. And not everything sweet is kind to your body. In your 50s, 60s, and beyond, this is the time to live more wisely. You don't need to fear everything, but it helps to be just a little more mindful. Even those tiny grapes can make you limp through the day if you're not paying attention. Let's make sure each step you take is joyful, not a repeat of yesterday's pain. And sometimes that journey begins with what you put on your plate at night. Now think back to a recent morning. You woke up, made yourself a glass of orange juice, sat by the window and sipped it like you've done for years. It made you feel like you were doing something good for your body. After all, it's vitamin C, right? Who would ever doubt orange juice? But let me ask you this: after that breakfast, did your knees feel a little heavier? Were your ankles stiff? Maybe a slight pinch in your hip when you got up from your chair? One of my patients, James, age 72, told me during a checkup, "I drink orange juice every morning, doc. Helps keep my bones strong." But every afternoon he was using a cane. His hip pain was that bad. Turns out the orange juice he thought was his friend was actually working against him. Here's the thing: citric acid found in oranges doesn't play as nicely with older joints. As we age, our joint tissue becomes thinner, more sensitive. And the natural sugars, especially concentrated in juice, trigger inflammation. The result: your hips, knees, ankles, the joints that carry your weight day in, day out, start to speak up. Not loudly, but persistently. Maybe you won't feel it after one glass, but drink it every day, week after week. And eventually, one morning, you'll swing your legs out of bed and realize this pain isn't just from aging. Something else is going on. I'm not saying you should hate oranges, but when your body changes, the things that were once good may need updating. What's healthy for a 30-year-old might become a burden for someone who's 65. So tell me, have you ever noticed more joint pain after a breakfast packed with vitamins? You see, pineapple is pretty acidic, and when you eat too much of it, or too often, those acids can damage the tiny blood vessels in your body. We call them microvessels. They're responsible for carrying oxygen to every muscle fiber, every joint, every cell. When those microvessels become inflamed or clogged, your muscles start receiving less oxygen. And the result: your legs start to feel weak for reasons you can't quite explain. Your calves tire faster, your knees tremble going upstairs, and you wonder, am I aging faster than I should? But it doesn't stop there. If you're on blood thinners like so many folks over 60, our pineapple needs special caution, because bromelain, a natural enzyme in pineapple, can amplify those medications. It might thin your blood too much, increasing your risk of internal bleeding or unexplained bruising. I'm not saying you need to say goodbye to pineapple forever, but next time you reach for a slice, I hope you'll take a moment to listen to your body. Ask yourself, do I really need this today? Or am I just eating out of habit, out of taste, forgetting that my body at this age asks for more mindful choices? Because your legs don't need something just delicious, they need quiet, steady care. And sometimes love means skipping that slice of pineapple. Let me ask you this: have you ever woken up, stepped onto the floor, and your legs felt like lead? You wince a little and think, maybe I slept wrong, or maybe it's just age. But if that keeps happening morning after morning, maybe your body is trying to tell you something. One of my patients, Connie, age 74, once told me, "I eat very healthy. Fruits every day, some orange juice, barely any sweets. But I don't understand why my joints ache and my ankles swell by the afternoon." I thought maybe I was just being sedentary. But it wasn't just that. In many cases, it's the seemingly harmless fruits, even the ones labeled healthy, that are quietly causing inflammation, fluid retention, and damage to the microcirculation of older adults. And the early warning signs, they're subtle. Do your legs ever feel heavy for no reason, a bit swollen around the ankles, even if you've been resting? Or maybe you stand up from a chair and feel your knees wobble like they lost strength in just a few seconds. That dull soreness after a healthy meal. Or a leg cramp that jerks you awake at 2 a.m. Do you brush those off? I don't. Because after 60, the body whispers before it screams. The pain isn't always loud, it's a hint. A tightening in your calves. A little imbalance on the stairs. If you pay attention, your body speaks clearly. I share all this not to make you fear food, but to help you start asking the right questions. To re-examine the relationship between what you eat and how your body responds. Because sometimes good health doesn't come from adding more superfoods. It comes from removing what no longer fits your stage of life. When it comes to health after 50, I truly believe this. Sometimes the most important choice isn't what you give up, but what you replace. You know, many of my patients, after hearing about the hidden effects of everyday fruits like mangoes, bananas, or grapes, often sigh and ask, "So what can I eat now, doc?" And I always smile and tell them, it's not about eating less, it's about eating smarter. You can still enjoy good food just with wiser picks. Let me share some options with you. Berries like blueberries, blackberries, raspberries are little powerhouses of natural anti-inflammatories. They protect your microvessels, nourish your joints, and even support memory. One patient, Ruth, age 72, told me, "I swapped out my nighttime grapes for a few blueberries with yogurt, and my legs feel so much better." Then there are cherries. They contain anthocyanins, which help reduce uric acid in the blood. That means less gout pain, less joint swelling. I call cherries the silent healer for folks with tender knees and toes. Avocados. They're loaded with healthy fats. And no, they won't make you gain weight. They'll help lubricate your joints and give you long-lasting energy. I often recommend half an avocado with whole grain toast. Gentle, nourishing, sustaining. Papaya is another gem. Easy on digestion, low in sugar, full of enzymes like papain that calm the gut and avoid blood sugar spikes. For seniors with bloating or indigestion, papaya is a quiet comfort. And finally, one of my favorite combos, pear with protein. Maybe a few almonds or a spoonful of Greek yogurt. Pears are mildly sweet and full of fiber, but when you pair them with protein, you slow down sugar absorption and support stable energy. Remember this: turning 50 or 60 doesn't mean living with restriction. It means living with more care, more clarity. Let every meal be a gentle promise. I still want to go far. I still want to walk freely. And I choose what's kind to my body today. I know hearing "cut back on fruit" might have caught you off guard. After all, we've been taught our whole lives that fruit is healthy, natural, essential. And that's not wrong, but it's no longer the whole story once you're past 60. Here's what I want you to remember. Your body doesn't need to give up fruit. It just needs to choose the right ones at the right time for the season of life you're in. One of my patients, June, 70 years old, blamed aging for her joint pain and muscle weakness. But when we took a closer look at her meals, she was eating mangoes daily, sipping orange juice, and snacking on grapes. Once we swapped those out for berries, papaya, and avocado, she called me 3 weeks later and said, "I can't believe how light my legs feel." That shift didn't come from pills or gym memberships. It came from her fruit bowl. Think of it not as giving something up, but as gently rerouting your habits, letting go of old beliefs, listening to your new body. Because what matters most at this stage isn't just living long, it's living strong, standing steady, feeling clear, choosing every day what lifts you up. And if switching out just 7 fruits can help you walk farther, climb stairs without gripping the rail, or shop without needing a cart for balance, isn't that worth it? I believe it is. So start today, not to deprive yourself, but to renew yourself. Let your legs feel the difference. Let your energy return step by step. This stage of life isn't about letting go. It's about stepping into something wiser. And I know some of what you heard today might have surprised you. Maybe it's the first time you've thought fruit, the thing we've always believed in, could be quietly making your legs feel heavier. But the most important thing I want you to take away is this: your body is still listening, and it still wants to heal. Whether you're 60 or 75, you still have the right to walk easier. To get up without bracing, to stroll the park or climb those stairs with strength and independence. And sometimes the journey back to that freedom begins with what you put on your plate. Start there. Your body is ready when you are. I've seen it happen not once but hundreds of times. When people just like you take a moment to pause, reflect, and start making small mindful changes in their everyday lives. And you know what? It always begins with something simple, like rethinking the fruit you put on your plate, like actually listening to what your legs are trying to tell you instead of brushing it off. So if something in today's video touched you, don't just let it fade away like any other clip. Do something for yourself, not because you're getting weaker, but because you're learning to live wiser. Thank you for being here and listening. And if this video helped you, please share it with a friend, because sometimes one small change could be what keeps their legs strong for years to come.